My name is Alyssa, journalist and community reporter, and I dedicate my time to searching for the stories that matter the most. Positive, uplifting, and inspiring stories that spotlight the challenges and obstacles we conquer to become the people who we are today. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of all the fairy tale lifestyles that people seem to be living on social media. Girl, you did not wake up like that. I'm interested in the genuine connections, the honest opinions, and the real uncut version of your true self. This show is about keeping it 100% real, deconstructing who we are and what we're all about. Join me as we sit down with individuals to discuss the personal struggles, the many challenges, and the moments that define us on this journey of self-discovery. Let's be real, life isn't fair and people make mistakes, but every opportunity is a learning experience. Let's discover the truth together right here on Real Talk. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Real Talk. I am your host, Alyssa, and as you can see behind the scenes, things go on. It's okay. This is how we keep it real here every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. So guys, thank you again for tuning into the show. Today we have an exciting show. I'm actually really excited about this show. I've wanted to do it ever since I spoke to our wonderful guest. And today we're actually talking about something that I've myself been really curious about, and that is dreadlocks. So you guys are probably wondering, like, what does this girl know about dreadlocks? She doesn't know anything. This Indian girl from no, I'm from Canada, guys, but my parents are from Trinidad. But I mean, I know a lot of people with dreads. I have friends with dreads. I've always been curious about dreads. It's a hairstyle that I'm like, what's going on there? It's like her hair is full of secrets. Right? So today on the show, I am so happy to introduce Miss Niya. Is it Niya?
Yep, Miss Niya. That would be me.
Miss Niya, the owner and founder of a Steam-Based Loc cleaning company called CleanLocs. So I had the honor of, how did I connect with you? I forget. I think you connected with
you
us
first, yeah.
Right? So Miss Niya actually reached out to us and she had, pitched me on her business, told me a little bit about CleanLocs, and I was like, this sounds interesting. I never thought about having to clean your dreadlocks.
This is why we have CleanLocs, because a lot of people were not thinking about that, and I found that absolutely, I was just really perplexed by that. I couldn't, it just seemed like such an obvious thing, like to be overlooked. So yeah, I was like, someone needs to do something about it.
I didn't think about it because I've always heard about dreadlocks that you don't really need to clean them. They're very low maintenance. Yeah. It's a very low maintenance hairstyle that people have. So I'm like, I would hear about having to wash your dreads, but again, I didn't understand that concept either because I'm like, how are you gonna wash that? Like, do you use shampoo and conditioner like regular? Because I'm like, I feel like washing my own hair, and my hair is not that much, is it's a chore.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, to think about having to wash dreads now, I'm like, that seems like a whole day thing.
It doesn't have to be a whole day thing. Sometimes it is for some people. But you're absolutely right. A lot of people have that misconception that you're not supposed to wash locks. So I'm big on analogies. So, I'll ask my clients, some really ridiculous questions sometimes just to point out the obvious. So, I'll ask someone, would you have a shower every day and only wash your crotch once a month?
Oh God,
no.
That sounds dirty.
Right? And then they're like, it just puts it into perspective. Like, why would you do that to your hair?
Yeah.
Especially when people already have this notion that locks collect dirt, holds on to smells and dust, and people think that you get mold. And so if people already think those things, why would you not be inclined to want to clean it or keep it clean?
Exactly. Your own hair, just regular natural hair does the same thing. Your hair picks up the scent of outside.
Yep.
If you've ever gone home to your house, your house has a different scent. So when you go and now you smell your hair smells like outside or everything that you've been in for that day.
Right.
So
We've all sat next to that lady in church that smelled like Sunday breakfast.
Or she smells like curry. You know what I mean? And you're just like, guy, do you wash your hair? But again, these are very important things that I think, especially our Caribbean community, is good to address. And also as well, I'm doing some research because that's important. Doing some research on dreadlocks and people who have had dreads in the past, I've learned a lot actually about the origin and how this kind of hairstyle kind of came to be. And also, on that journey I learned that it comes from a lot of different cultures. So it's been around.
Let's play a game. You go first. What do you know?
What do I know?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I know about dreads. So I found actually that dreads have originated in India. The Hindu culture, like monks, sadhus, and everything like they used to dread their hair. Also, it was something that kind of came from Egypt as well. Like mummies and pharaohs, like are when they're dug up in the archaeological finds, they actually still have their dreads and they're still intact as well, which is really cool. Vikings in Europe used to have dreads.
Yep.
And then also again the Rastafarian movement also had dreads. But what the most interesting thing I actually found about dreadlocks was that the belief that dreadlocks give people power.
Yes.
So
this kind of, just like how locks are seen in many different cultures, that theme goes across many different cultures. And it's interesting for myself as well, because as I had mentioned when we spoke initially, that I'm mixed up with pretty much everything on the planet. One of the things that I also have is some native ancestry, and both more so, I'm not going to say that it's in the Rasta culture only, but it's very prevalent in the Rasta culture.
They're the ones that kind of brought it more mainstream, which is why
they made
more
it
people
popular.
know it. Yeah.
But in terms of like the cutting of like not cutting your hair, for me personally, it's very interesting because on both sides of my family, like my dad is Jamaican and then my native side is on my mom's side, and both of those have folklore or history behind, you know, the importance of keeping your hair.
Yeah.
So most times like Rastas will go to the Bible and they'll go to like Samson and they'll tell that story. And then for natives, there's a story about how basically some white people came and put us in a forest and they left us there and was like, all right, when the enemy came to attack, we woke up immediately and we were like, bad man, bop, 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 everything gone. And then when they cut our hair, everybody died because we didn't have our sixth sense anymore. And, you know, we lost that about us.
Yeah.
And kind of like further to that, people often argue like whether or not hair is an extension of your nervous system, because I'm sure that you probably came across that knowledge when you were looking up as well.
Yes.
And basically all it is that the part of your hair that's inside of your scalp is alive. The part that's on the outside is dead. Right? So I personally still believe that, yes, it is an extension, because if you look at things like if you get scared, your hair stands on end, right? Yeah. And the only reason that if it was dead only, then it wouldn't be able to have any kind of an action or reaction, right?
Exactly.
So the fact that it's still connected to your nervous system is why that stuff happens.
So in that same thing, it's basically people believe that energy, so like your life force energy, your chi, your prana, your ki, they exit the body through the top of the head. And that having knotted hair or locked hair, it prevents the escape of this energy, making one stronger and even potentially allowing people to have like kind of a supernatural characteristics, which is why like mental and physical abilities as well, which is why also in a lot of cultures the shaman or the witch doctor will have locked hair.
Yep, absolutely. Pretty much in all of the cultures across the board, like to put it in a nutshell, the closer you are to God, the longer your hair is.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
The Rastafarian movement, kind of, well, even not even going into the Rastafarian movement yet, but even talking about how the dreadlocked hairstyle went mainstream, was obviously because of Bob Marley and his own teachings, his learnings and things that he used to share with the world. But also, it was very cool. And I think that's kind of what people are drawn to.
I think a lot of people really just find it fascinating. And people are drawn in by the unknown, right? And it's almost kind of like a real life mysticism, you know, where other forms of mysticism are, you can only read about it or hear it through, you know, oration or whatever. But here is like an actual person, you know, with this magical hair. And it's really interesting to see the different types of reactions that you'll get from different types of people pertaining to your hair. Like, actually, just the other day, I was in the subway and this woman made a comment about my hair and we started chatting. And we talked about everything from my hair to, like, what people think about the holidays to, you know, like, we just had a really, really great conversation. It lasted, like, all of, like, 5 subway stops. But you can really tell the difference between people who are genuinely interested and people who are just there for the ridicule. You know, so it's even myself being like mixed race, when I started my locks, a lot of people didn't even know what was going on. They're like, is that braids? Are you twisting it? Is it, are they curls?
Like
yeah, why does your hair look like that? Did you do it on purpose?
Did you not brush your hair for a couple days?
Did you not brush your hair? What's going on?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I just decided I was just going to cover it up. So I just wore tam for like 3 months, and then I just took it off and had locks.
Yeah.
And deal with it.
So why, before we're going to go to break in a few minutes, but why did you make the decision to even lock your hair? And what inspired it?
I actually wanted to lock my hair when I was in high school, and I lived with my Jamaican granny.
Mm-hmm.
Noasa. So then when I was like probably about somewhere between like 18 and 21, I decided, I'm going to do this. But then I was like really vain, and I was like, I can't just be this stationary because I'm a hot girl.
Yeah.
And then I went through like, a bunch of stuff in life, and I decided that I needed to like do a lot of like mental clearing out and just clearing out in general. Like I started to really think about the difference between wants and needs. And I was putting more focus on the needs at that time, or on the wants, and I wanted to put more focus on the needs. So when people would ask me, what do you think about, like what's your favorite thing about yourself? I would always say my hair. So I figured if I could kind of step away from my identity being my hair, that it would speak more about like my character as a person. So that's what kind of led me there. And that's why when I was doing my research, a lot of people are surprised that it wasn't Rasta that drew me in. Like I was mentioning earlier, it was actually the Indian culture that drew me in, because the reasons for why they grew their hair seemed to be more in line with the path that I was kind of trying to take.
And I like that you mentioned why. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue this really interesting conversation, guys. So.
When you know your purpose, you know your function, because the function dictates the purpose. It's not talking about what color this thing is. Life is about a function. And only when you function do you see purpose. This is where we live, just here. What we think. We miss the human when we just focus on the black of the hand or the white of the palm. But my goal in life is to get people to understand your function. Let them feel their love. Let them know you. Let them know your struggle. So when we talk about community, it's talking about coming together, unity.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
We'll continue this conversation. Hey guys, we're back. Jordan, you can't just be like putting me back in like that so quickly.
And dropping knowledge at the same time.
Anyways, no, it's fine. It's fine. So we are here today on Real Talk, and we are talking about dreadlocks. Again, I feel like I'm kind of a little bit unprepared for this because I know what I want to talk about, and I know like all the things that I find interesting, but because I'm also trying to keep it, again, like a natural conversation that I would have talking about dreadlocks with my friends. Like I have friends who have their dread, but like I always felt that it was rude to ask someone why their hair was dreaded.
Really? Why?
Because I'm like, that's a choice that they made to do, especially if, again, this is gonna sound really bad, but like if they weren't black, I didn't understand why your hair was dreaded.
That's fair. A lot of people feel that way. I get it. I get people who write me in, like people who are not black, who will write me in and ask me if it's okay.
Like, is that cultural appropriation? And I actually did a whole show on cultural appropriation, so that's a whole other thing.
I had actually posted maybe about a year and a half ago now this article by this white woman where she was speaking about how did it go? It was like she was speaking about her experience as a white person going to like heavily melanated countries and helping. Yeah. And how North America's idea of what she's actually doing there is nothing like what's actually happening. Yeah. And through that, she decided that she wanted to lock her hair. And she apparently is, you know, a worldly woman, so she knows people from different backgrounds. And like her black people were like, nah, girl. Yeah. Right? So then she actually gave it some thought. And so I published this article, and then this woman that she's white, she wrote me in and she's like, you know, what do you think? You know, she's like, I saw this article. Yeah. And for me personally, I feel like I can give you all of the reasons why I may not agree with it. Yeah. And I can give you like, you know, all of the history that we know about it. We can give you all of the information about why appropriation is not cool, what appropriation actually is. If after you know all of that, you still want to do that, what am I going to do about it?
Well, that's the thing, and I feel with...
I'm just here to educate.
With the appropriation, too, I think it's better... It's best that if someone asks you, why is your hair dreaded, you can explain to them even why, or what kind of inspired you. And I think to be inspired by someone else's culture, to want to adapt, you know, the features of someone with those beliefs because it resonates within you, like you said, a lot of the Hindu faith values, and that's why you decided you were going to dread your hair. So... in saying that, what were some of the things that kind of drew you to dread your hair?
Honestly, it was just like a lack of focus on it. Okay. Like, you don't understand. Like, I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to like press out my hair, and I'm just going to like do groceries.
Whereas just putting it up in a bun and go,
right? Like, I wouldn't leave the house unless my hair was did, you know? And like, I'm talking like, I don't do a hairstyle for the week. Like, every day, a different hairstyle. Like, it's extreme from like one day it's like flat iron.
That's some dedication, because I don't even have that kind of discipline.
And like, I have pretty, like, my hair's curly, so it's not like I don't have the wash and go hair as you know, one would think. And like, it's a lot of work, you know. And even to the point, like, teachers used to make comments on it, you know, like it was a thing in school. Teachers were like, you know, if you spent more time on your work than your hair,
they would tell you that?
Yeah. What? You know, or even my friends are like, you know, we're going to go out and do something or whatever. And they're like, they'll be like, how are you doing your hair? My goodness. And then I tell them, and they'll be like, okay, so make sure that you like start getting ready now. So,
oh my goodness. So yeah, they would cater to the fact that you're going to take 5 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, just getting over that, like, it was literally like, now that I'm talking about it and thinking back on it, it was literally like an obsession. Yeah. You know, so
you wanted to disregard that. So, yeah. And I was telling you, actually, like, I had found this online when you had told me about it, about wanting to focus more on your needs instead of wants. I had actually found, looking into more research, that people from different faiths look at their hair to be very holy. And again, we hold our hair in high regard. It's one of our most prominent features. And it's a form, again, of strength and power. And then the other thing is, to not comb your hair to some is a disregard of vanity and things in the world, which I thought was really cool, because I think personally, I think dreads are beautiful, right? So for them to say, well, I'm disregarding my vanity by dreading my hair, in the same sense, you're also making your hair more beautiful.
I don't know. I don't think I would read it as like complete disregard. Maybe just less regard, you know, because I get a lot of people as well who will be concerned that, you know, make sure my hair looks like super neat and perfect because, you know, I work on Bay Street, right? Or I'm a lawyer.
When they come in to get their locks clean,
right? Okay. And I mean, when I started my locks, which is the point at which you're the most awkward, I was working on Bay Street. I was a headhunter for real estate and finance. Like, you couldn't get any more corporate than that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And that was actually the one and only time that I ever had anyone bring up any issue with my hair. And the end result, when the guy brought it up, he was like, because I started as a secretary, and then I became like an intermediate kind of hybrid job, and then I became an account manager. So now I'm bringing in clients. Yeah. And he's like, you know, you can't be bringing in clients and like, you know, your hair looks like this. And he was trying to tell me that I should cover it up and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, you know, they're just going to think you're some little dreadlock Jamaican girl. And then that was the part that kind of like really offended me. And I was like, well, I am a dreadlock Jamaican girl. So if you don't want to work with people simply based on the fact that they don't want to work with you because of my appearance, like maybe you should reconsider the types of people that you want to be working with.
Yeah.
You know, and he was a gay Indian guy. And I'm like, of all people, like,
Of
you
all
should be
people.
more open to, like, understanding, you know, discrimination. I was like, what if someone told your dad to cut his beard?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's just like the way Sikh people keep their hair
And
long
he
as
was
well.
like, well, you told me you're an atheist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's still a belief system.
Yeah.
That's still my belief.
Yeah.
And my hair goes with my belief.
Yeah.
You know, and how I carry myself. So later that day, I got a call at like, he's like, make sure you come into the office at like 8 o'clock and we don't open till 10. So I was like, okay, I lost my job today.
Yeah.
And he actually apologized. And
Okay.
he was like, you know what? When I started this firm, the main reason why I did it was to create opportunities for minorities and people who were being overlooked. And for me to take that stance would go completely against, you know, the whole reason why I started.
It's true. Actually, that probably allowed him to do some introspection into
Exactly,
himself. And
right?
his
So he
own-
was almost like, you know, thank you for standing up for yourself, you know? And I also told him, like, covering it up isn't going to make no difference because I'm beige.
Yeah.
And like when I was at the airport and I was going to Jamaica a lot, I was like, they were giving me a hard time. I'm like, oh, they think I'm a mule. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cover up my locks this time, right?
Yeah.
So I cover up my locks. They're like, excuse me, ma'am, can I check your scarf? Now they think I'm a terrorist. They're like, can you take off your shoes? So like, it doesn't matter what people are gonna make an assumption regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we just have to make sure that we stand firm in what our beliefs are, because most times when people do try to challenge you, most times it's like when you apply for a job, they're looking for the best, but that doesn't mean they're going to get it.
Yep.
You know, so they challenge you thinking that, you know, they might overturn you, but in actuality, you know, if you stand firm, you'll probably, you know, get closer to what it is that you want than having to give in.
Yeah. So
I see your wheels turning.
I know. I'm trying to think about how I would phrase the question too. So it was a spiritual. Would you say it was a spiritual commitment to you?
I
for
think it
yourself?
became spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah. At first, it was really just about trying to make some kind of a change, and I think I lacked spirituality,
Okay.
and
That's
was
interesting that you say that. Yeah.
the route that I chose to try and accomplish that.
So how did your life change after you dread your hair then? Did it?
Well, I instantly became an empress, like, the next day. Like, I'm walking down the street and people are hailing me and I'm like, oh yeah, that's me, hey!
Yeah.
People do kind of treat you a little bit differently, which I find really hilarious. You have to kind of like combat a lot of stereotypes that people will throw at you, and I don't think that they do it to be disrespectful. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think they try to hone in on what way they can relate to you so as not to offend. Which I think is refreshing, because I think outside of that, people don't consider, you know, whether or not they're going to offend you or...
And it's funny that you say that, because 2 years ago when I went to Jamaica, it was the same thing. I'm from West Indian background, so I mean, I probably look like some Jamaican people when you go there, because again, they're all mixed with all kinds of different things.
It's like Toronto but hot.
Exactly. But when I went to, they were very, 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 very respectful people. When it came to complimenting you, especially like the way that the way they would deliver a compliment.
Jamaicans are unique in that fashion.
The way they would deliver a compliment, you would feel like, oh, okay.
Tell me the best one you heard.
Some guy called me a princess. He called me a princess, but the way he said it and the way he even described, he's like, I see you, princess, there with the fair golden skin.
Right?
And I'm like, boy.
I love it. Let me tell you,
what I mean?
any woman, if you ever have self-esteem issues, just go to Jamaica. They love everybody. It doesn't matter. They love women, period.
Yeah, they do. And just the way they deliver you would be like, I heard this joke the other day where some Jamaican man was like, girl, I like your structure. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
My mom was like my size. Today's her birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. So today, she used to be like my size, and like, you know, she had 5 kids. Like, now she's bigger, right? So she like ran into this guy that she hadn't seen in a long time, this Jamaican guy. And he's like, oh, Venus, I haven't seen you in such a long time. What a way you get. plenty. I was like, that was just so good. Like, so tasteful.
Yeah, which is so interesting. And then even to hear like this is how people were regarding you now, that, you know, your hair was dreaded.
Yeah, like people, they took a little bit more care in their approach, I think, as opposed to when you're not. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, even like in terms of like, you know, summertime catcalling and things like that, if I really think about it, I don't think that I get catcalled nearly as much.
That's really interesting.
As I
really
used to.
Say that.
Yeah.
So we are going to take another quick break. Time is just flying by here as it does, but we'll be right back.
Think you have what it takes to bring value to the community? The TCN TV network is expanding and now accepting TV show proposals. Here's an opportunity to build celebrity status and become part of an elite group of community advocates that are focused on building, strengthening, and empowering our community in a positive way. Are you interested in embarking on a new adventure? TCN TV is searching for people interested in opportunities to change the conversation and pave an unforgettable legacy. If you feel you have something of value to offer, send a written show proposal to shows@mytcntv.com.
Welcome back. You are watching Real Talk, and I am your host, Alyssa Mahadeo. Today on the show, we're totally keeping it real, and we are talking about something, again, that I think is a really interesting subject to talk about, is dreadlocks. So locking your hair, hairstyling it, and, you know, just all of the things that kind of comes with having dreads, especially as someone who has dreaded their hair. So I have Miss Niya here from CleanLocs, Loc Cleaning Service, and I did want to talk a little bit about what she does, because that is very important. That's actually the entire purpose of the show. So Miss Niya, please tell everyone how you kind of got started cleaning locks.
Out of necessity, I needed to supplement my income. So I was like, I've always been very industrious and like entrepreneurial and doing my own thing. So I was like, what can I do, you know, that I haven't done, that I can make some money? And so I started washing hair in my bathtub. Sorry. And it actually all happened very organically. Once I kind of like, people started telling me that I kind of had something here. They're like, you know, I've never seen anyone do this. Even when at first, when I would approach people on the street, like they would really look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, you want how much money to just wash my hair?
You want to clean my hair? Why?
Right. That too. They're like, you're just going to wash it?
Yeah.
And they're like, but what about the twisting? And I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, I'm sure you got a lady that, you know, does that. I won't be mad. Go back to her. I just want to clean it. You know, you'll feel so much better. And so I was using that as a way to supplement my income when I was going to school, and also to run away from a really bad boyfriend. And when I had to leave the apartment that I was in and move downtown, that's when things kind of just set into motion. I kind of just gave in to the idea a little bit more. I started to see the vision a little bit more. And I was actually just really flabbergasted that no one had ever thought about cleaning locks before, when it's like the #1 thing that people complain about.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was doing the research to like, you know, make sure we're not stepping on any toes, I'm like, I can't be this smart. Like no one's done this yet.
Yeah.
And no one had done it. I think I found like one lady who was doing something similar, and she was in the United States, and she really didn't have a lot of her information like open to the public. I feel like I've over the years like shared a lot of my techniques and my ideas and thoughts around cleaning locks and stuff. I mean, even I wish I could do like a screen capture from like 10 years ago, because when I did the Google search for cleaning services or just cleaning in general, how to clean all these things, the only thing that I could find was an ACV rinse. And I personally haven't found that to be the best.
I don't know that it would be, like, just knowing what...
Well, I mean, I think the biggest mistake that people make with their locks is they try to treat it like their hair was before it was locked, right? And those principles are great for when your hair is loose, but they don't apply, you know, when your hair is locked, and then that causes a lot of confusion.
Because your hair is a lot thicker. It's all of your hair kind of wrapped together.
It's literally a bunch of knots.
It's like if you had your hair in a ponytail and you decide, or like a braid, and you decided you were going to wash it.
Yeah. You know, or like I tell people, if you think of like, if you like spilt like ketchup on your shoelace, how would you get that out? Right? You can't just run it under the water like you would.
And think you got all the ketchup out.
Right.
Because it's going to get into the fibers
exactly.
and into the seams.
Exactly.
Like
so
that,
it requires, you know, more work. But because there's also not a lot of consistent information, because there's lots of information, but there's not a lot of consistent information surrounding locks, it forces people, you know, they go to YouTube, they go to their friends, they go to the hairdresser, and I can guarantee you, myself included, if you ask 5 locticians, like, what's the best way for you to do any particular thing, they're going to give you 5 different answers.
Yeah.
Right? And that's also part of the reason why I decided to not do other things and only do locks, because I felt that it was necessary for someone to kind of be a specialist. And I don't know, I was just always of the thought that, you know, do something really, really well. You know, I was raised that way. One thing at a time, you know, I don't know, we had some stupid nursery rhyme, but just do one thing at a time and you'll do it right. Yeah. So I figured by focusing on just doing locks, I would learn everything that I could possibly know about locks. Like,
I think it's funny that you even say that you're like, I couldn't have been the smartest person. Because
I really thought that, though.
But you know what's funny? It's the fact that there's so many negative connotations behind locks. There's so many things that people are like, they're dirty, they smell, they this, that, and the next. But then why is no one proactively trying to solve that problem if it's such a big deal?
There's all kinds of cover-ups for it. Like, I'd say in the first 2 years of me starting doing the lock washing, that's when I made like the most discovery of like what people were doing. Like, I remember one time washing this lady's hair and the soap suds are coming like gray. So often it's because people are putting stuff in their hair. So I'm like, you know, what are you putting in your hair? And she's like, nothing. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what it is, but it's gray. Yeah. And she goes, gray? Oh, it must be the Sharpie.
Sharpie?
Right? That's what I said. Girl, she was coloring the lint so that you couldn't see it. I was like, is this real life? And then I thought it was just her. And like 2 days later, another person was in the chair and the exact same thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is like an epidemic. People are dyeing their dirt.
They're dyeing their dirt. Oh no.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's like crazy, like the amount of thing, or the fact that people don't know that there's dirt in their hair. You know, it's one of those things like, you know, this table is black, so we don't know how dirty it is because we can't see the dirt.
Yeah.
Right? And then people just kind of run with that. It's low maintenance, people, not no maintenance.
And I think that's probably where a lot of the stigma drives from. Like, because, again, I thought so before that if you had dreads in your hair, you didn't need to wash it.
I think that we drive the stigma as well.
Yeah.
And the way that we drive the stigma is because it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, because we don't have the answers ourselves. We don't want to have that conversation with somebody.
Makes
so
sense.
Someone lady comes and asks me about my hair, she's like, yeah, I wash it. Right?
Yeah.
Or we tell them some nonsense.
Yeah.
Or we don't say anything.
Yeah.
And that, in a way, perpetuates that negative stereotype. So that's why it was really important for me to, like, get to the bottom of, like, where all this crap is coming from in people's hair, why it's there, how to stop it. Like, all of that became really important because I felt that, you know, like we were saying earlier, once you know something, people can't take that from you.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's perpetuating is because we don't know.
Yeah.
So if we have knowledge and someone asks us, now, like, my clients are, like, hella, like, proud. Like, they're flashing their hair all over the place.
They're like, look at my hair, it's clean.
Yeah, like, people ask them about their hair. They're proud to tell them, like, they're happy to answer questions. Whereas a lot of people, when, you know, you're asked questions about your locks, you're just like, why are you talking to me?
And I think that's where even my fear kind of came from. It was like I didn't want to ask people about their locked hair because I'm like, they probably get questions all the time. They probably don't want to hear from me. They're probably like, oh, this girl's asking me about my hair again, right?
You know, and it's usually we'll have that that outlook because we don't know what the intent is behind the person that's really asking, and we're so used to having to field the bullshit that, you know, it becomes like a protective wall. Like, is this person really concerned about or interested in my hair and why, you know, my deep spirituality?
Yeah.
Or they just want to like prove a point to their friend that I don't wash it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's true. Like, I mean, even again, this entire thing. So tell us about, so you do a detailing service.
Yeah.
Right? And what is that kind of process?
Without getting into too much detail, that was so bad. I use a tool, a modified tool, to go deep inside the locks and pick out essentially all of the deeply embedded gunk and lint and stuff that gets tangled up there without actually unraveling all of the locks and keeping the locks intact.
That sounds tedious.
It is. And I would say that 80% of my job is patience and 10% is technique. And then the other 10% is just because I actually like what I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you deal with dreads in different kinds of sizes as well, right?
Yeah, everything from like sister locks all the way up to like I've had a client who had like 7 locks and they were like this big.
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you even get
And you know
there?
what? I'm glad that you made that face because I like telling this story because this guy was married to this woman and she had really, really fine locks, really, really long past her hips. And his locks were probably about to his hips as well. And people always thought that his locks were going to be dirtier. And when I did the wash, her locks were filthy and his were like almost didn't even need me.
I believe that. I actually believe that because it's not like the dirt and stuff isn't getting all the way inside of the hair.
Well, it's not even just that. Women are far more fussy about their hair. We put more stuff in it. We touch it more often. We're always doing stuff.
Yeah.
And men pretty much just wash it and that's it. And that's essentially all you have to do when you have locks. So just keep it clean.
Keep your hair clean, guys.
Yeah.
So we are having some great conversation right now about cleaning your dreadlocks and, you know, even maintaining the hair that you have because, again, it's important. You don't want to deal with all that negativity that comes with, again, having dreadlocks. And I think it's important even to mention that you see clients from all different kinds of backgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
All over I have people that fly in from different countries, from different cities. I've got Asian clients, I've got white clients, I've got Spanish clients, I've got black clients, like anybody, you know, like I don't discriminate.
As you shouldn't. So we are going to be wrapping up the conversation when we come back, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Okay, guys?
Discover the incredible India.
Welcome back. You're watching Real Talk, and I am your host, Alyssa Mahadeo. Today we are talking about dreadlocks, guys. We're having some really great conversation here. Again, I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure, you know, you guys are probably getting some information here about what it means to, you know, maintain and clean your locks, because again, there's too much negativity out there when it comes to the unkempt nature of locks, and I find that because of that, they kind of get a bad rap, especially in the workplace, out in society, on the red carpet, school. Like, dreadlocks are a hairstyle, and I'm sure, like, this is a question I actually wanted to ask you. With dreadlocks, what can you do with, like, regards to hairstyles, with regards to hair color and things like that?
You can pretty much do anything that you would regularly do with your own hair when it's loose. You know, like different size locks, different length locks obviously is going to give you, you know, certain limitations or ways that you can do it. But that's the same as if you have short hair or long hair. You know, people who have, like, super thick hair, you know, will have a different styles than people who have really thin hair. It's exactly the same.
So you can curl locks. Can you curl locks as well?
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
I sent you a picture of me with curls.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
You did. And
big, like huge, like...
And are you curling it with a curling iron as well?
No. Actually, I just use, like, you know, like those old lady grandma rollers with the sponge?
Yeah?
Yeah, just that. And believe it or not, all of my locks fit on those little rods. Yeah, but it's... See, this is where CleanLocs comes in, because when your locks are full of, like, lint and gunk and dirt and things like that, it doesn't have the same flexibility, you know, so the curls aren't as buoyant. So when it comes to things like styling, applying color, putting in curls, all of those things become much easier when your locks are clean.
So tell us about where you guys are located and what kind of services you offer.
We are downtown at Bathurst and Dundas, just east of Bathurst, across from Toronto Western Hospital. And I'm actually located inside of a storage container. So if you've seen those, like, tiny homes,
I thought that was super cool, actually, when she told me, and I, like, looked you guys up online.
Yeah.
And it's like a storage container?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a tiny home kind of concept. And I'm literally on a metal box on the sidewalk.
That seems very organic.
We have heat. We have water. We have electricity. We have Wi-Fi. We have everything that you would have in a shop. Obviously, there's a little bit of, like, limitation here and there. But people who really know me know that I wouldn't really have it any other way, because I am very much a non-conventional type of person.
Yeah.
And we do, obviously, main focus is the steam-based cleaning. But we do everything. So loc maintenance, retightening, blending your tips, separating, making them bigger, like anything that you can think of for locks we do, styling. We have packages as well to make it easier for people who are trying to, like, attain a certain level of cleanliness. People like to a lot of people come after breakups. To get rid of the negative energy.
The negative energy from my locks, I need to get that out. Yeah, that actually makes sense.
True story, when I was with said crappy boyfriend, my hair did not grow for 2 years. And I know this because one of the things that happened, like, just as we were breaking up and I had to stay, like, living with him, is I put thread on my loc. I put, like, red, gold, and green. And so I could see, like, how it's growing, right? As soon as we broke up, my hair grew, like, 6 inches.
That's insane.
Yeah. So there's that power of the hair.
The power,
right?
The spirituality within the hair, guys.
My nerve endings were just not about that energy. They're like, cease and desist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It was like your body was trying not to absorb any more of it,
right?
because
it
you'd already been so saturated in it. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of the promotions that you guys offer at
We always have promotions at CleanLocs. There's always something going on. Students always save $10. Just bring your student ID. We'll keep that on file. New clients save $10 off their first appointment. If you send me 3 people, your hair's free. And then this month, if you book a steam wash and loc, you get a free bottle of sorrel. And to toot my own horn, my sorrel is actually pretty amazing.
She brought me a bottle.
Yeah. You know what? I think you should taste it on air.
Should I?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that.
I'm that confident.
You're gonna taste some sorrel. I know that you also have another promotion that you also do with regards to bringing in your old product.
Oh yeah, we have a product exchange program. So a big part of CleanLocs philosophy is not putting stuff into your hair because it's really, really difficult to get it out. So in an effort to encourage people to stop putting stuff in their hair, we have a product exchange program where you can bring in all the products that you're currently or have been using in your locks, and the total value I will tally up, and 25% of that will apply as a credit to your account. And the only catch is that you have to leave the products at the shop. And then the product that's left at the shop, we have that available to the women's shelter that's close by. And the ladies can come and get like shampoo and hair care products that they, otherwise may not have been able to afford.
I think that's a great idea, yeah.
Especially good because usually when people are giving donations, they give white people products.
No, I think that's a great way to, get people to get rid of their stuff because I think, especially with dreads, because there's such an organic hairstyle.
And usually what happens is people try stuff, it doesn't work, and then they just buy more. And because they've spent money on it, they don't want to throw it.
Yeah.
Right? So it just like accumulates. And
because
we have
hair products are expensive.
Yeah. Like the average price, I think, for a bottle of anything that someone has brought in is like $20.
Mm-hmm. So I can't open this.
You can't open it?
No, because I'm not strong enough, apparently.
Oh my goodness. Am I? I can't open it either.
Just give me the word.
Okay, we'll ask Jordan to open it for us. Here, Jordan, you can open it up.
I was like, make sure it doesn't spill.
Sometimes you just need the manpower.
We fail miserably.
If I don't open this now, this is gonna be hella funny.
Right?
Oh, so Jordan's struggling. Hopefully he doesn't spill anything. Okay, hopefully he doesn't spill anything. But I did want to ask one more thing before, while we're wrapping up. Where is the future of your company going? Where do you see you going in the future in the next couple of years?
I would like to put more focus on education and move more into that direction. A lot of people have asked about classes, so that will be coming soon. And yeah, that's pretty much like the focus right there. Expanding a little bit to get a man, I don't know what you call them. He's like, is it still a barber? He does beards,
Yeah, I think they're still called barbers. Yeah.
So a lot of guys, it's really popular right now for people to have like the undercut, and a lot of guys want to get like a lineup after they've had their locks tightened and stuff. So we're looking to get a barber in for that, and then really just start focusing more on the education side of things. And then what else can I say? Oh, we also have, like, because since the holidays are coming, for anybody who's like an entrepreneur, CleanLocs offers shelf space to artists. You get your first month free. It's really inexpensive. It's anywhere between $25 and $40. So you get your first month to kind of sort out if that's what you want to do. And everything that you sell in the shop, you get to keep all your profits.
Oh, cool. So, like, you allow artists to come bring their paintings and their artwork.
So they can bring in artwork. They can bring in, like, a lady who's done really well is Shireen from Loc and Luscious. She provides lock charms, like hair jewelry. Charms, she, rotates her stuff every month, and, she's been doing really well. She's been there for probably about 4 or 5 months now. And, she's stayed. Another client of mine is a writer, so he's sold a book through there. And the good thing is that people who come to the shop are pretty much like-minded, so whatever you're into, there's guaranteed to be someone else who's going to stop by who's into it too.
And I think it's very important, especially to restate that the education of dreadlocks is very, very important. Learning about the history, learning about why people used to dread their hair, learning about the different cultures, and never condemning anyone for wanting to try the hairstyle. Because that's what I find. Like, I find that because it's such heavily influenced in other cultures, it's kind of frowned upon. They're like, oh, why are you dreading your hair? And I don't like that.
I mean, everyone's gonna have their own personal choice, right? And we're definitely not in the business of discriminating against everybody. My main thing is really the education. So once I've given you the education on locks, or encourage you to do your own research, because I always encourage people to learn on their own. If once you've gathered all of that information, you're still okay with it, then by all means, come on down to CleanLocs.
Let's work together, to eradicate some of this stigma, and to
absolutely. And I welcome, like, come down and ask me questions.
Yeah.
DM me, call.
So you can all of our contact information will be in the link below. Make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe. Even check out the article that I wrote on CleanLocs.
Yeah, a lot of people, thank you. A lot of people have said that they found the article extremely well written.
I'm glad.
And very like informative. They, my readers have really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm gonna try some of this sorrel now because that's how we're gonna take each other. It smells so good, guys. So I think you guys gotta head on down to CleanLocs. So thank you guys again for watching. Make sure again you subscribe to the channel, and we will be back next week. Real Talk right here Fridays from 1 to 2 p.m. guys. See you later. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
My name is Alyssa Mahadeo, journalist and community reporter, and I dedicate my time to searching for the stories that matter the most. Positive, uplifting, and inspiring stories that spotlight the challenges and obstacles we conquer to become the people who we are today. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of all the fairy tale lifestyles that people seem to be living on social media. Girl, you did not wake up like that. I'm interested in the genuine connections, the honest opinions, and the real uncut version of your true self. This show is about keeping it 100% real, deconstructing who we are and what we're all about. Join me as we sit down with individuals to discuss the personal struggles, the many challenges, and the moments that define us on this journey of self-discovery. Let's be real, life isn't fair and people make mistakes, but every opportunity is a learning experience. Let's discover the truth together right here on Real Talk.